I'm making my guest's favorite drink.
You picked a mojito, Vesper Martini.
The House of Balloons cocktail.
Nice and crisp.
Join me and some of the world's greatest writers.
Multi-award-winning author of 5 novels.
Best-selling author of more than 20 books.
The Pulitzer Prize, among many other awards.
Welcome to Dedicated. Today we're with Jake Tapper. Jake has been senior White House correspondent for ABC. He hosts a show for CNN. He's moderated presidential debates, and he's done a ton of work to support veterans in our military. But most relevant for this show, he's also the author of 7 books, 3 novels in the Martyr mystery series, and 4 works of nonfiction. The latest is called Race Against Terror, Chasing an Al-Qaeda Killer at the Dawn of the Forever War, which is a terrific book, well-researched, and amazing pacing. Jake, welcome.
Thank you, Doug. It's so great to be here.
Great to have you here. You mentioned that the drink today would be bourbon, which I have a little here, but I know you also have a special cocktail that you sometimes fix up.
So it's a complicated question because I'm a drinker. I try not to drink every day, but I'm a drinker. So I have different moods, and it's fall now. So I do like a Knob Creek maple flavored whiskey just on the rocks. That's a go-to in the fall, but any bourbon with me is good. There's also weekly tradition for me and my wife, date night, Friday night, and we have these margaritas that are just out of this world there's a restaurant not far from us called Muchas Gracias, and they make the margarita mix fresh, which is what distinguishes them from any other margarita I've ever had. And I just want to tell you the tequila, it's Calle Blanco. I had to ask because
Calle Blanco.
Calle Blanco. That's Cayeya. Calle Blanco. It's a top shelf, special fancy tequila, and it goes well with this margarita mix. Like I said, that it's fresh and when you have a drink and it just ruins you for any other drinks like that. Like I had a mojito in Cuba once, and it was just like I'm never going to have another one from anywhere else.
So not too sweet. The problem I have with some margaritas, it's like you got to get it not too sweet, but the fresh ingredients.
Not too sour. It's the fresh ingredients, honestly, and then the kick of the tequila.
Nice.
Have you ever had? It's like name dropping, except about liquor. Have you ever had vodka in Russia?
No.
Or Ukraine? It's not. Whatever they serve us here, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, even if you import it, there's something different about it in market.
It's like water. It tastes like water, but it hits you like formaldehyde. And it's just like, I don't know what it is, but
then you're walking around like Boris Yeltsin after a little while.
Yes, you could see why that happened. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, that's my long liquor answer for you.
All right. Well, cheers. It's great to be with you.
Cheers to you.
By the way, we are recording in the morning, so this is going to be a long day after all this.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to
kicking off some bourbon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So more important than all that other stuff in the intro that I just mentioned, which of course is hugely impressive, you're a Philly guy. You were born in New York City, but then grew up in Philly.
Yep.
So you and I were kind of growing up in the same years, in the same neighborhoods.
Now, where were you? Where did you grow up?
Radnor.
Okay, yeah. So my mom lived in Center City. My parents are divorced. My dad moved to Marion, which is awesome. Radnor, were you Montgomery County? Part of Radnor?
Yeah.
Okay, because Radnor's split, I think, between Delco and Montgomery. Monco. Anyway, yeah. And I mean, it's just the most exciting. I have a Phillies hat around here somewhere that Mike Schmidt signed.
I mean, Schmitty was my guy, but yeah, we grew up watching the same, like Bill Berge and Harold Carmichael and all the Philly. And I know you're an avid Philly sports guy to this day. So you and I are frequently texting in the high and low moments.
I told Megan to get you a replicate of the Vince Lombardi trophy. I don't know if she ever did that for you.
She did. I have it. It's,
good.
It's in the house. Yeah, thank you.
Because I sent it to her, and she's like, "Why would it?" I'm just trust me. He'll like it.
He'll love it.
He will like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's proudly displayed in the house. We actually went to that Super Bowl. It was a great.
And also, it looks so real. It's like laser printed by somebody, and it looks so real. I posed for a picture with it just in my kitchen, and people were like, "Where did you get it?" I'm like, it's not real, you idiots.
All right, so getting back to your folks, your mom was a nurse at the Philly VA, which I suppose is partly why you do so much veterans work.
I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. It's possible that the seeds were planted there. She started as a pediatric nurse, then got another degree and became a psychiatric nurse at the Philadelphia VA. It was mainly, drug addicted Vietnam veterans when she was there. I think McCain, covering the McCain campaign in 2000, especially, made me like open my eyes to veterans, because you go to a McCain event in like New Hampshire or wherever, and there would be Vietnam veterans. This is 25 years ago. Vietnam veterans standing out there, like holding a sign, just like where they served in Vietnam and whatever. Yeah. And there was just looking for recognition, looking for commonality with McCain, and like the way that Vietnam veterans were treated when they got back home is such a disgrace. And thankfully, we're in a different era now. But I think that probably was part of it too.
Yeah. A lot of what turned that around was books and film, like the Rambo First Blood movies. It sounds weird to say that, but that actually did do a lot to sort of sway public sentiment more in the favor of those and recognize how horrible that treatment was. And
Platoon and Born on the 4th of July. I mean, for everything, whatever Oliver Stone has become, he did some work that was really seminal for humanizing the Vietnam veteran in the 80s through those films. I do that same thing too. I acknowledge the silliness, and when I talk about a movie having a huge influence, but pop culture in this country is just hugely influential. In terms of everything.
Yeah. Staying on your mom for one more thing. I know she was a Presbyterian, like a good, mainline lady, as I was raised Presbyterian as well, but she converted to Judaism,
she converted to Judaism to marry my dad. She was born in Canada, raised in Chapel Hill. My grandparents were Presbyterian, but, like secular. I don't think they ever went to church. And we would go down there for Christmas and celebrate Christmas, but not in an overtly religious way, just in the kind of, the Christmas carolers would come and be snowing in Chapel Hill, just beautiful, lovely holidays, stockings, Christmas trees. It was nice. I mean, we were raised Jewish, but I've always just had I'm just pretty open-minded when it comes to this sort of thing.
I was raised Presbyterian too, and it was, as you described, it's sort of like religion light. You really, there's something there that you can go participate in, but it wasn't that serious. And I don't know if you ever heard this story. We lived in Westchester years ago. Our kids are now like well into the teens, but at the time our oldest was 3, and we had a sort of 3 and 2. And the best preschool in the area was in affiliation with the synagogue in town.
Sure.
So we go over there and like, this is a great school. We're good with all this, but how religious is it here? We're not in fact Jewish, so this is all great, but how serious is that as a part of the curriculum? And they're like, oh, not at all. It's sort of it's here and it's adjacent, but we don't really do that. And then 2 weeks into the school year, our son comes home singing, dreidel, 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 we make it out of clay. Da, da, da. And I'm
That's
like,
funny.
Oh boy, here we go.
That's funny. That's, again, not particularly religious. It's just about a top that you spin on Hanukkah. I mean, it's not really about anything. The thing about Judaism that I always liked is that it's not, Jews think that our religion is the one that we believe in, but since it was since it predated Islam and predated Christianity, my view is always like everybody kind of is Jewish originally, and then and now Christians are doing their thing, Muslims are doing their thing, but I don't see
just add one
Jewish,
more book.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. So obviously a big brain. You head off to Dartmouth. And you are a history modified by visual studies major, is that right?
Yeah, that's just art. Yeah, okay. I drew. So visual. I know,
because you're like a very talented cartoonist.
I try to be. I don't know how talented I am. Anytime I put my wares out there, they get mocked mercilessly. But I like drawing, and I am working actually on a drawing project, like a graphic novel book. That is, you think it's tough writing a book. Try drawing it and try writing it and drawing it.
Do you know David Duchovny?
I know who he is. I'm a fan.
He came on not long ago. He's done some graphic novels and stuff like that.
Has he really?
Yeah. He's actually really good. I mean, I'm not sure he's doing the illustrations for it, but he might have an illustrator. But he's done some a few graphic novels.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, no, I'm trying to do the drawing and everything, and it's definitely. I don't know, it's harder, but it's definitely much more labor intensive. Like right now, I've written and drawn and colored the first 50 pages, and now I'm trying to write the next 50 pages. And it's basically just like writing a screenplay.
Yeah.
And because you're like talking about what's on the page and what the dialogue is, and then I have to go in and draw it. It's a lot of work.
Hey, you're like a jack of all trades. When are you sleeping? You got a whole show. You got all these books coming.
I sleep. I just
You
got
got Eagles games to watch.
I know, but only one a week. That's why I like football season. The requirements are much less than baseball and basketball season.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the Birds this year?
You and I text about this time and again. As you know, I have not been a huge Jalen Hurts fan. I just feel like there's a lot of, what appears to the viewer to be a broken play because he can't find. So it's like, I don't know, maybe the play didn't quite develop or he just couldn't find didn't check down receivers to find somebody. But he had a hell of a game against the Vikings. So that was impressive.
Those passes to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were just unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, they were just like touched by God. I hope all those understandably huge egos have figured it out because we need them functioning together.
There's it's a high-powered offense. I had some great players there in the locker room that need to, we got to get Saquon involved, who, by the way, has the sort of minimal ego. He's not the locker room problem, but he's a hell of a player.
He's the greatest. And when I hear about him at Penn State and hear about like he would be in the back and like he would get free drinks, but he would still tip for the waitresses. I mean, like he just seems like this unbelievably sweet, wonderful person. I hope he never breaks our hearts.
Yeah. I hope he stays in Philly. I don't know, what's the contract situation with him? Do we have him for
I don't
a while?
know, but they can't let him go.
Yeah.
I mean, they just signed him a year ago, right? So they can't let him go.
Yeah. That Giants game was a tough pill.
It was
that
awful.
one hurt. Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
One other fun thing I found in your background as I was getting ready for this, you were a spokesperson for Hooters. Is that right?
I mean, ish. So before I figured out journalism, when I was in my, post college, like what the hell am I going to do with my life era, I worked for a public relations firm called Powell Tate. Jody Powell was Jimmy Carter's press secretary. Sheila Tate was Nancy Reagan's press secretary. So it was a bipartisan firm. And, we worked for whatever clients we got. And Hooters in the Clinton years was being threatened with a lawsuit from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission for not hiring men as Hooters girls. And I worked on that. I worked on the Hooters case. I worked on that. I wasn't like I worked at a PR firm, but yeah, I mean, this was, it's just, I was 24, 25, and, I working for a PR firm to pay the rent while I figured out what I wanted to do. I was working on a novel. I was working on a screenplay, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, sometime.
How did that resolve? I mean, I could see male maitre d' or something like that, but you can't.
They dropped it. The EOC dropped the case.
Okay.
But Doug, sometime when there are not cameras and microphones around, and we have actual bourbon being poured by the rail, I will tell you more about that case, and you will say, God bless.
All right. Well, nice work. I'm glad it all worked out in the end. So
sure did.
After PR with the Hooters client, by the way, I just saw something in the news where the founders of Hooters described their mission in founding the company was they wanted to start a bar where even they could not be kicked out.
By the way, it's just the wings there are horrible. I don't know why anybody likes the chick. Anyway, I don't want to get sued.
Not a lot of focus on the wings there. I think they're they're excelling in other areas.
Yes.
So your journalism career starts out in print, though. You're working for the Washington City paper.
Well, first I was doing freelance. First I was for years trying to break into journalism by writing freelance stories for whoever would publish them. So the Washington Post, Entertainment Weekly, the Dartmouth Alumni Magazine. I mean, whoever, and like just to like amass clips.
Yeah.
And eventually City Paper came calling because I'd done enough freelance stuff for them that David Carr, who went on to become the legendary New York Times media writer, but he was the editor of City Paper at the time. He took me out to lunch and convinced me to take a pay cut and become a full-time writer. So I did it, and that was awesome.
So as a freelance guy, you're paid by the word, paid by the piece?
I think it was more by the piece, and not enough to live on. It'd be like $200 a piece or something like that. And, just to date it, one time I wrote freelance stuff for, like I said, anybody that would hire me. And it was, it's all my ideas. So like, it's the strength of the ideas. They only bring in freelancers for their idea, not because, I was so unbelievably talented. Otherwise they would have assigned it to their own writers. But I did one that was about how new technology, this is the 90s, this is just really going to date it, how new technology was changing the rules of dating. And it was called Love in the Time of Caller ID. That's how long ago it was. I wrote about Stairmaster butt, how women thought they were getting bigger butts from Stairmasters. Literally, I was just like, I was trying to break into the business, and it
way ahead of the Kardashians. I love the Love in the Time of Caller ID. I'll have to, like the Gabriel Garcia Marquez play.
I wrote that article just for that headline. I mean, that was just because I thought it was so funny, Love in the Time of Caller ID. And like,
it's very New York Posty in terms of the grabbing a little play on words with a headline.
And right before it published, I called the editor just to double check, and they had changed the title to like something stupid like New Technologies Changing the Rules of Dating. I'm like, no, please.
You missed the whole point.
It needs to be Love in the Time of Caller ID. That's the whole reason I wrote this stupid thing. And thank God the editor's like, oh yeah, that's so much better, and changed it.
Oh, good. So that was late 90s. You pick up at ABC in 03, I have in my notes. So were you auditioning? How did you make the leap from print to
Well, there was
camera?
Just a bunch of TV and TV opportunities here and there. There was a short-lived show on CNN of young pundits, and then I worked for VH1. I worked for the Sundance Film Channel. There was just like a lot of little gigs where I was learning about TV at the same time that I was writing freelance stuff. And I wrote for Salon.com full-time for several years in there too. So, by the time ABC News hired me in 2002 or 2003, somewhere in there, I had learned about TV, and I had a mass of clips.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. And obviously you're sort of still working both muscles. You're doing a ton of TV stuff, but you're constantly writing. And even for the TV stuff, you have to prepare, how you're going to tell the story in the show.
Yeah, it's a completely different writing. It's just a completely different kind of writing where you're lucky if you can like sneak a good turn of phrase into a minute 30 package versus writing, because like basically they just, it's like a AP report, just who, what, when, where, why, how, it's just very basic, but you have to come up with like a good hook. I don't know. It's complicated.
I had processed next anyway, so this is perfect. So you're doing, news articles, you're doing a show, you're doing long form books of fiction and also nonfiction. How do you, when you sit down for any one of these projects, is there a through line of how you're sort of getting to that there, I guess, but is there a through line of how you think about crafting the way you're going to convey information? And what are the big differences? And when you sit down for, this book here, Rage Against Terror, was a huge undertaking with tons of primary research, hundreds of interviews and lots of information to sift through.
Well, what you might appreciate about Race Against Terror is you talked about the pacing, and I took the lessons that I had learned from the fiction I'd written, the 3 novels, and I tried to apply them to nonfiction. And this as a very gifted writer of nonfiction, that sometimes nonfiction, you don't want people to think like it's homework. You don't want people to think like it's true and therefore it's going to have to be a little boring. Like you want to avoid all that. And so I tried to take as many lessons as I could from fiction in terms of just cutting the fat, and just making it like, so I don't have, and you did this in yours too, but like, I don't have, according to these 5 reports, I don't have that clause in there because that's just that's a hindrance to a reader. I have sourcing in the back of the book, but I generally feel like for a book like this, the reader is on a journey with me, and I want them to read it. And like, if they're wondering about sourcing, I can put that all in the back. But I don't want I don't want little speed bumps in the road.
Yeah, that can really interrupt the narrative. You do a great job with that. You're just flowing along with the story, and there's so many different aspects to the book. I mean, there's the legal piece, the military piece, the political piece, and the very personal piece of it. By the way, the terrorist himself, it's sort of funny how he has this self-importance that just completely blows himself up. Like, they get him in custody. He's like, oh, I'm way more important than you realize. I've done a ton of terrible things.
and it actually made me think about, when I was thinking about the because I've been asked on this book tour, about Spin Ghoul, about this Al-Qaeda extremist, and what we can learn about him or extremists. And there does seem to be a through line with all these people, whether the murderer of Charlie Kirk or Luigi Mangione, who killed that United Healthcare executive, or Spin Ghoul, which is they all have this sense of grandiosity. They all have this sense of destiny, that they are this person, this important person, because of this violent act that they have committed or want to commit. And I don't know if it's a form of madness or narcissism or what, but it is a through line. And you're right, like, it's his undoing. Spin Ghoul is so proud. It's his undoing. I asked Dave Bitcower, who is the assistant U.S. attorney. He's one of the heroes in the book. He's the guy who first told me about the story, because he's my son's friend's dad. And I just, he told me the story at a social event. And I asked him, why did he confess? Like, why was he so eager to share this story? And Bitcower told me this interesting story. So Bitcower went to Yale. And when he was at Yale, he got to interview Ron Darling, who is this, legendary New York Mets pitcher. And Ron Darling also played for Yale. He was a pitcher for Yale, and he pitched a no-hitter for Yale. And when Bitcower interviewed him, even though he had, a World Series ring and was this legend, he remembered every minute of every day of the day that he pitched the no-hitter against St. John's, I think, in college. And that reminded Bitcower of Spin Ghoul. Not, Ron Darling is no terrorist, but even if you don't like the Mets, but the idea of the greatest day in somebody's profession, enables them to have this memory of the day down to the minute. That was the same with Spin Ghoul, and he saw himself as a World Series pitcher, So it's kind of weird and hard for normal civilians like us to wrap our brains around, but I think that's part of it.
That's interesting. I've seen guys like on the golf course, they can go through a round of 18 holes and remember each shot on each hole, and it's so foreign to me. I can't remember what I did on the hole that I just completed.
Yeah, no, I'm a goldfish. Agreed.
Yeah, it's in and out for me. All right, so you've written 7 books, as we mentioned. The first is all the way back in the early days before you were, a big national name, on Jesse Ventura, right?
That was the first one. Yeah, I should say I've written 7 and co-written an 8th, the Biden book. But right. So there are 8 total if you include co-authoring. So I was working at City Paper, and I had a literary agent because I was trying to get a novel published. It never got published, and Jesse Ventura got elected, and St. Martin's Press was looking for a quickie that they could get on the shelves, straight to paperback. And, I was late 20s, and they offered me I don't even know, $10,000 or something. Yeah. And Jesse Ventura would not cooperate because he was writing his own autobiography. But yeah, I jammed out in a few months, a biography of Jesse Ventura.
Any other books in the bottom drawer, either novels or nonfiction, where you sort of, put it to the side?
I mean, constantly, right? But I mean, there are a few unfinished novels that I had one, so I wrote the 3 books about the Martyrs. I started a 4th, but then put that aside. There's the one I wrote in my 20s, but I did the whole thing of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly starting and fiddling with stuff, but generally speaking,
what is it that you need to see because you've got a lot of things going on, and there's probably a lot of projects that come across your desk, like, hey, Jake, let's do this or that. What is it you need to see to say, all right, taking on a book is a huge time commitment. What is it you need to see to say, I'm going to do this one?
I mean, I am willing to start a book and work on it for a few months and then walk away from it. That's what I'm willing to do. I worked on the outline of a screenplay / novel not long ago this year that I was like, and I said to my agent, Sloan Harris, I'm just going to work on this for a month and a half, 2 months. Because somebody from Hollywood had expressed interest in me working on a project. And they wanted me to write a book that they could then option. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to write the book. So I just did a long outline of this historical event. And but I'm willing to walk away from it. I mean, I think that's just, if it's either I don't think it's going to be good, or there just isn't the commercial interest, my agent isn't supporting it, etc. I'm willing to walk away.
You have a news agent and a book agent and a film agent, and different people, or
I have a TV agent for CNN. That's Jay Suris with United Talent, and then for literary projects, Sloan Harris with, I guess they're now CAA. It was ICM, and Sloan Harris is my literary agent. So anything having to do with like writing, I work with Sloan, and he'll, when he calls it straight, he'll just be like, I don't think there's a commercial market for this, or and if you can't sell it, then unless you're really driven to write it. Who's your agent?
Javelin in DC.
Oh, they're great. Yeah. They're Matt and they're fantastic.
And Keith, Matt and Keith. Mostly I'm with Keith, but both actually. So they've been terrific. Yeah.
So, we work because Alex is a client of theirs. So when Alex Thompson of Axios and I wrote the Biden book, I got to work with Matt and Keith a little bit, and they're just fantastic.
Yeah. So how about on the more social level? You're out to dinner. You're in DC. Do you ever get sick of talking politics? I mean, people, like, if you're there at dinner, they must be like, we got Tapper here. We got to find out what's going on. And you just get bombarded with political questions, or
I don't go out to dinner with people like that.
You got a tight circle of Eagles fans, and that's it?
Not Eagles fans, but I have a pretty tight circle of friends who, I don't know what you guys are like, but like, that's my day job. I don't want to go home and talk about Hakeem Jeffries or Donald Trump. Like, I don't, I'd rather talk about the Eagles or our kids, or I've got a 16-year-old boy and an 18-year-old girl, or what's going on in our school, or what's going on with our mayor, gossiping about friends. I'm in my 50s. My wife is in her 40s. Like, we've got all sorts of friends that are like hitting huge milestones, whether it's divorces or scandals or, whatever. And so, no, I don't really want to talk about that stuff at all.
We're the same. It's treated the same. Day job, not like through and through political animals that just get such a Jones talk. And there are people who live and breathe it, and their downtime is the same as their work time, of like, that's what they are drawn to. And we're not that way, and our close friends are not that way. Occasionally though, there's like some broader dinner that you go to with some folks you don't know as well at the table, and that's where Meg's like, on the receiving end of many questions and people wanting to know, and that's fine. She's so gracious about it, but it's a little exhausting.
It is exhausting, and also like, I want to. First of all, if I'm at a table, so I'm a trustee at my alma mater, and like, there are people on that board, and again, they don't come to me and like say, "Ooh, tell me what's going." I think that we're all at like in a status that people understand. Like, I don't really want to talk about this. Like, honestly, it's what I do for a living. But like, if I'm Shonda Rhimes is also a trustee. If I'm around Shonda, I want to talk about what she's doing. Like, it's so much more interesting to me than like what I'm doing. Or like,
that's why you're a good natural interviewer. You're inquisitive.
But I'm actually interested. I mean, like, I'm not, it's not just for the sake of politeness. Like, these people live like really interesting lives that I know nothing about, especially all these people in the business space, all these investors, and I don't even understand what they do. And like, how does it work? Like, that's really interesting to me. And they, by the way, don't really want to talk about it either. So,
well, last question on the news, because the election cycle passed. I thought, news will settle down. We'll talk about other things. God. But it's a nonstop news fire hose that is 99% politics news. Is it, so you've been in the business, since the late 90s. Do you think we have a higher percentage of political news content as the sort of overall pie of news than we, now than 25 years ago?
I think that the real difference is President Trump, and whatever people watching or listening think about him, he does a lot. He's constantly doing things, and like maybe you like the things, maybe you don't like the things, but it is nonstop action. He said to me recently, he called me, and he said to me something like, "What are you guys going to do when I'm gone?" And I was like, I don't know, take a nap, take a breath. He recognizes he is a whirling dervish. Some of it is, he's got this group of people that were out of power for 4 years and they're just raring to go. Some of it is he likes attention. I don't think there's I don't think that's a secret. He likes attention. He likes,
Well, and he knows how to be entertaining for sure. That's part of what has made him successful and what wins him some votes. He knows what's going to work on television.
He is an expert television producer. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
I do think that when his presidency is over, I think it is very likely that things will calm down a little bit. But then again, you don't know. Who comes after him?
Yeah.
Because I think that he is teaching lessons to this next generation of politicians. I don't know that it can all be replicated. I think one of the things that we've learned, and this was the same with Obama, is that whatever magic or charisma or charm or attractiveness they have doesn't necessarily can't be passed on. But for instance, if AOC were to become the next president, I'm just throwing it out there, would she be like him only in the sense of, I am going to flood the zone with activity. I am going to flood the zone with availability, talking to the press, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to become a force the way that Trump did. I think it's possible that somebody like her could do it. Can somebody like JD Vance? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But generally speaking, I think after the Trump presidency is over, probably things will calm down a little bit. But, the world is just also so different with so many more media outlets and news outlets and the algorithms established to divide.
And even the youth has access to these, devices to consume information in a way that you and I grew up in the 80s in the Philly area, kind of sort of had a similar experience, I imagine. And I don't remember being political at all. I was aware of who was president. I was aware of sort of big things happening, but I wasn't consuming lots of political information. I didn't have strong opinions on many issues, maybe a couple I thought about, but politics wasn't a big part of my life and what I was doing. I was much more interested in sports and other stuff. But now I feel like the youth is very sort of politically activated and aware.
100%. Yeah. So I grew up a little differently than you. I did come from a politically aware family. And so I knew Frank Rizzo was mayor when I was a kid. And I knew, and I also I became aware of politics a lot through satire, through Saturday Night Live and Mad Magazine. I learned a lot about politics. You'd see something, you'd be like, well, what are they making fun of here? Why is that funny? And then you could find out, you can ask your dad, ask your mom. But generally speaking, you're right. My parents would read the Philadelphia Inquirer. I would hear KYW News Radio in the car with my dad. And then, Action News would be on at 6. And but other than that, it wasn't necessarily about politics. But today's kids, you're right, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, both my kids knew who Charlie Kirk was because he was a huge presence on Instagram and TikTok. So that was just interesting to see. I don't know that I would have been aware of a young Democrat or young Republican when I was in my teens. But then again, the world is so different.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so last question before we get into the lightning round here. What's next? You've got the graphic novel. It sounds like you're dabbling with some screenplay stuff. Anything on the Martyr front that could go book to film?
I was and am talking to some showrunners in Hollywood about turning the second Charlie Martyr book, The Devil May Dance, that's the one about the Rat Pack, into a streamer. Yeah, we're there, and I think we're going to start going out to streamers next month in November and trying to pitch it. Christian Slater is interested in playing Charlie, and it's a really good team. So we'll probably try to do that. In terms of novels, I've been playing in my mind and on the page a little bit with a whole new character and a whole new thriller type. It's really early. But yeah, I'm starting to think about that. One of the reasons I did the Martyr family was because I wanted to do a family. I wanted to do mysteries that were pre-internet and pre-cell phones. But now I think I'm ready to tackle something in the modern era.
The Martyr books are great. It's such a charming era. As you mentioned, it's the Rat Pack. And one thing I found fascinating, because I read that second one, Sinatra he's so admiring and wants to be around Kennedy. And it's an era where, Hollywood was sort of pursuing the politicians. Now I feel like it's inverted, where the politicians are pursuing Hollywood.
100%, yeah. And Kennedy rejected Sinatra, and that was actually the impetus for the book. Was I heard this true story about how Sinatra did all this stuff to help Jack Kennedy get elected in 1960, and then he wanted Kennedy to stay with him when Kennedy came out to California, to LA in 62, I think. And Robert Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy Sr., kiboshed it because of Sinatra's mob ties, or perceived mob ties. And when Sinatra heard this, he'd built up his Rancho Mirage estate preparing for Kennedy's visit. He built a helipad and phone lines and extra rooms. And when he heard that it was rejected, he went crazy and took a sledgehammer to the helipad and all that. All that's true. I was like, how have I never heard this story before? And then I based The Devil May Dance around that anecdote. Where Charlie.
By the way, did you get any? So that book blends some fact and fiction, real characters, and some, as you say, true stories about the Rancho Mirage estate. Did you get any blowback or feedback from either descendants or people around who may have had a?
No, I actually met one of the Sinatra girls. I guess they're grown women now, but I met one of them and mailed a copy of the book to her, and she mailed a copy of her book to me, but I never heard back. I got to imagine that these people don't read this stuff. I mean, like I knew Joe Kennedy III, the former congressman. I know him a little bit, and I never gave him a copy of. The Kennedys are in both the first two books, The Hellfire Club and The Devil May Dance. He never said a word to me about it, and I never said a word to him about it. I just assumed that they're so sick of talking about their ancestors that they never met, and they don't even want to deal with it. I always wondered if I would, though. And then the third one has Evel Knievel in it, and I wondered if I was going to hear from Robbie Knievel, but Robbie Knievel died right before the book came out. So anyway, I never heard.
Well, the Martyr books are great. They're super fun and smart, and
thank you.
Also, and I can see where the pacing comes from with the Race Against Terror as well. So, good luck with the book to film.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I wanted it to be a nonfiction book. Pardon me. I wanted it to be a nonfiction book that read like a thriller, because I would tell people the story of it, and halfway through they'd be like, "Wait a second, this is true, or you made this up?" I'd be like, "No, it's true. It's true. It's a true story."
Yeah,
it's all about the sleuthing to catch this guy, to catch this Al Qaeda killer. So anyway, I tried to write it like that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. That kind of narrative nonfiction, the stuff that Larson and David Grann are doing so well now. You can sit down and there's no good place in the book to put it down. You're like, this is an amazing story, and it's, as you say, it's true. It's
and what do you? I mean, how do you, when you write yours? How do you feel about it? How do you? Because yours is nonfiction too.
Yeah. The last one and this next one coming up are nonfiction. Narrative nonfiction. So it's a true story told in a novelistic way. So I do try to create scenes, but everything, as Larson famously says about his, anything in quotation marks was actually said. Everything is factual. You're not making up anything, but you're trying to tell it as though you're telling a story.
Right. And in this scene, this person said something to this person, and you're just trying to convey it as true to fact as possible, while also making sure that the people reading it are really into it and want to know what happened.
Like hitting them over the head with have it be fact, like you're reading a textbook. I mean, that is the most painful way to learn history. There's this great line from Rudyard Kipling who says, "If history were told in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten." And that's, I think, the gist of how narrative nonfiction has really, come about to succeed is a great way to learn. And I feel like those are some of the most successful books right now are doing it that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although there's leaning too much into it, which is when I was researching this this thing I was going to write as a screenplay. It's about this event that happened during World War II, and there were a bunch of narrative nonfiction books written about it, and then also some of the veterans later wrote their versions of it. And they complained that the narrative nonfiction was basically just invented, just made up on the spot. So wow. I do think that there is a degree to which, you have to be confident. No, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. You can't take too many liberties, I guess, is the point.
Really should be none. I mean, you can try and create a scene out of some stuff and tell it in a way that's a little bit more engaging.
Exactly.
But yeah, there shouldn't be any liberties. I'm surprised. We'll follow up later to find out what story that is.
I'll tell you. But I mean, there are no liberties taken in my book, but I'll say this: there might be something. There's a scene about a chapter about a fingerprint expert, who she is and how she came to be looking for Spingool's fingerprints in this one object. So I don't know. This is like a liberty, but I don't reveal what she found or when she found it or if she found it until later in the book. So it's not really a liberty, but I want to keep the suspense going. I mean, I'm honest about when I drop the information, I'm honest about when it actually happened. Yeah. But I also want, you have to maintain a level of suspense.
Yeah. I think that's just part of your narrative decision making as opposed to making, you didn't take any liberties with facts.
No, but it's just, but nothing has to be chronological. I guess that's the point. Just because we experience life in a chronological order doesn't mean that's necessarily the best way to convey a story.
Right. I agree. I mean, I have found that when in doubt, I kind of stick with chronology because it's a little bit simpler, but you're totally right. In terms of the storytelling, sometimes there's an important way to reveal it, as long as you're not changing the way it was revealed in real life, but
100%.
To the reader. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be lying about the chronology, but you don't have to lay out everything in chronological order as it happens, because sometimes there's a propulsion. You want people to read the book. Yeah. Right. I mean, I think that you want to be in service to the reader. That's really the best way I have of conveying it. I want to be in service to the reader. I want this to be the best book they can read. And when they're done, I don't want them to think that I want them to know that they know everything and they know the whole story, but you don't have to, if you know how it's going to end at the beginning, you're still not giving everybody all the information at the beginning,
Right. Right. Plus and then people can go, to your sources and follow up on anything that they have doubts about. I mean, and yours have a great combination of primary and secondary research. You did so many interviews with all the key players.
I was also lucky because there was so much. There was the Spingool was brought to trial. That's not a spoiler alert. I mean, that's what made the case so interesting, is they were trying to prosecute for the first time ever and only time ever a foreign terrorist tried in a criminal court in the U.S. for killing service members in a war zone. And so there was this body of evidence and court transcripts that I was also able to draw on, and thank God, because otherwise I wouldn't have Spingool's story. I mean, I have his entire story. You don't normally get the life of a terrorist. You don't really necessarily know it. But this guy told his entire story to this court in Italy right after he got picked up. So I was able to benefit from all this work that these prosecutors had done.
Yeah, it is an amazing story. And the fact that he's out there sort of spilling the tea on himself, it's just amazing. Well, I don't know where you're finding the time, Jake, but it's a terrific book. And
thank you, Doug.
All right, so on to the lightning round with Jake Tapper. Your favorite book as a kid?
The King and his, I think it's called The King and His Six Friends, or The King and His Seven Friends. And let me look it up. Hold on one second. It's this incredible, The King and His. The King with Six Friends. Yeah. It's this lovely picture book about a king who meets six friends, and they all have this, they all have a gift. They all have something special.
What age is this for?
8, something like that. But I also, when I was a kid, I also loved the Tintin books. Do you know Tintin?
Oh, yeah.
I loved Tintin growing up also.
So did you go back? So in my case, Hardy Boys was one of my favorites. I was, Frog and Toad, into Hardy Boys. Sure. I tried to get my kids to read Hardy Boys, and it didn't really. I read every one of them. I must have read 50 Hardy Boys books, and my kids have done like 1 or 2. It didn't quite catch in the way I was hoping. Did you take these books to your kids?
I tried to, but Mike, you can't go home again, right? I mean, I tried getting. I can't even get my kids to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, the greatest film ever made.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
yeah. I mean, like they're doing their own thing. So no, I tried to, but it's just written for a different age. I think also our generation, Doug, like had more respect and reverence for previous generations. This generation is much more willing to think everything's old and stupid. That's even like 20 years old. Mm-hmm. That's just my kind of take on it. But yeah. I tried, but I liked the Frog and Toad books also. I read Hardy Boys books. I watched the Hardy Boys TV show with Parker Stevenson and Sean Cassidy.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
The Phantom Freighter, I remember that. That was the first Hardy Boys book anyone ever gave me. I think my grandparents gave it to me, the Phantom Freighter.
God, that's, yeah. I mean, I would devour those. I'd disappear into the basement and come back with like.
Oh, yeah.
All right, book or books?
Did you ever read the Great Brain books when you were little?
I don't remember those.
There's great stories that take place in Utah in the 19th century, and there's this clever kid who's like he's basically a con man, but he's 12. Those were great too. Anyway.
There are some. Encyclopedia Brown was another.
Love those. Bugs Meany, yes.
Yeah. Book or books you're reading now?
I'm right now in the middle. I want to get the title 100% correct. Right now, I'm finishing up a book by Charlotte Runcie, Runcie, called "Bring the House Down." It's a novel, and it's about a theater critic named Alex who is vicious. And it's simplistic to say he gets Me Too'd, but he gives a horrible review to a woman who did a one woman show, sleeps with her before the review comes out. Then she changes her show to be about him, and it just flips everything on its head. And it's just an interesting look at criticism and art and. I'm almost done. It's really good though.
Is this just out?
I think it came out this year. Yeah.
Okay.
I somehow, like, what happens with me is I'll read about a book that I want to read, and so I'll just immediately download it on Kindle.
Yeah.
So that then when I'm looking for a book, it's there, and I don't remember necessarily why it's there, but I have a bunch of books waiting to be read.
Oh, that's good. So where do you get most of your book recommendations?
Friends or articles, reviews, and obviously, like you, I get mailed a lot of copies of books that are just out. Mm-hmm. So I know there's a new Connolly coming out. I know I just got a new Lee Child, or Andrew Child, is that his brother, in the mail. So there's a lot of stuff, but I find myself reading on my phone.
The new Connolly book, Proving Ground, is terrific, and there's a Jake Tapper cameo in the book. Just FYI, right? So
that's nice.
Hitting shelves now.
I hope it's not a negative one. I got a cameo in a Stephen King novel once, and that was not negative. It was great, but it was. You just never know. You just never know. But I can't wait. Connolly, we were talking before we started recording. Connolly is just a master, and he's just crushing it, and he's doing it all right. Just great stories, well told, great characters.
Yeah.
He's got at least 2 TV shows on now. I mean, just so good.
Yeah, he's great, and you're one of like 10 people in the last few weeks I've talked to who said exactly that about Michael Connolly. He's really
and also just
great.
just a lovely guy.
Yeah. Favorite Eagle of all time of the Eagles football team?
Right now, it's Saquon Barkley. I mean, and I know he's not having the season that he had last season, but honestly, I could say Devontae Smith, I could say A.J. Brown, I could say Jalen Hurts. I do not share your Jalen Hurts love. I have this hatred or skepticism.
Skepticism, that's a good word.
I have decided to go all in on Jalen Hurts, and I feel really good about it. But, I was a big fan of Nick Foles.
Yeah.
But right now, it's just Saquon. I just love the backward flip. I mean, I just love it all.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's such a class act. He's just amazing.
Oh yeah, and just all the stuff I was telling you before about at Penn State, how he'd get free beers, but he'd still tip the waitresses because he knew that they needed the tips. Mm-hmm. I wanted to show if I could up here, I have all this Eagles helmets, helmets and balls and confetti from the. There's a sound guy at CNN who also does sound at the Super Bowls, and he brings me the confetti. He's brought them for the last two. Are you raising your kids to be Eagles fans?
Yes, I finally won. You actually sent me a funny text because we went to go see the Jets-Eagles game, and Megan got them.
Jets beat them, right?
This was like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I think the Jets did win that game, yeah. And it was in New York, and Megan bought them Jets T-shirts to go to the game. So I text you, I'm like, can you believe this? And you're like, that is some subversive BS. And I showed her, I'm like, you see what you're, and
I mean, how many things are you diehard about, right? I mean, she gets everything else.
And
why can't you have?
She grew up a Giants fan, but she wasn't avid the way I am about the Eagles. And so anyway, they're all Eagles fans, which is great. All right, Who's the true rival of the Eagles?
I think right now it's Kansas City. I mean, I don't think about it that way because I hate Dallas and I hate the Patriots. I always just get madder about Brady and the Patriots than I'll get about Mahomes and Kansas City.
How about within the NFC East? Who do you feel like is the true, historic rival? Because there's tough choices there. It's tough, Giants, they're close by, but DC
I think it's I don't know. I mean, you could say Giants because they just beat us, and it's not the first time. The Commanders, Zach Ertz is on. The Commanders are really good and are liable to be. Well, they were, but Zach Ertz is on the team, and I love Zach Ertz, and he would love to be back on the Eagles. But I don't know. Who do you think?
I mean, historically, growing up, I would say the Cowboys. Just they were. I kind of loved their style a lot with Landry and Staubach and that era of the Cowboys.
But they're horrible now.
They're horrible, but if you're just thinking historically, who's our main Red Sox, Yankees? Not every year are they top teams.
The algorithm in my social media thinks it's Dallas because I am constantly being sold, or they're trying to sell me Dallas sucks stuff. Yeah. There's our answer then.
I will say also, the algorithm knows best.
My brother-in-law lives in Dallas, and he's a Cowboys fan. And some really nasty Dallas sucks thing showed up in my feed, and I downloaded it and I sent it to the text chain that was my brother-in-law, his wife, my son, and I forgot that my mother-in-law was on it, and she lives in Dallas too, and my wife and my brother-in-law are constantly making fun of me for this incredibly unnecessarily harsh Dallas post that I did in this internal text chain they pretend it was aimed at their mom, which it was not. I forgot she was on the text chain, but it was very aggressive. I agree, it was very aggressive.
Well, I mean, the Eagles fan, that's kind of our thing.
That's our thing, exactly.
That,
That's our jam, yes. Inappropriately aggressive.
Yeah. Worst part about living in DC?
Well, it's a company town, and so if you want to not think about politics and the media, it's not a great city for that. That's the worst part about it. And that's,
how about best part about living in DC?
It's a really great quality of life. I mean, as people who lived in New York, who now live out of state, you would know, it's nice having a yard. It's nice being able to see the sky. It's nice being able to walk down the street and it doesn't smell like garbage or pot. So, I mean, like, it's very livable. There are museums here that are really just fantastic. It's nice seeing the monuments. Like, I like seeing the Washington Monument, the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln. I mean, it's cool. It's
a great place. I've lived in New York for a lot, but I've lived in D.C. a little bit, and especially compared to New York, it's a gentle little town, but it's got big town stuff. You know, you've got access to incredible, stuff people would travel the world to go see, but it's a pretty gentle, easy living town.
It just like I mean, I like New York and all that. I was up there not long ago for the book tour, and like, it's just crazy how it takes 45 minutes to go 10 blocks. I mean,
oh my God. And if the UN's in session, where you're here that week, that's a nightmare. Yeah. I don't know why that thing isn't out by the airports.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it was built before congestion, right? I mean, it was like, it was after World War I, I mean, or whatever. I mean, or after World War II, I guess. But still, I mean, like, yeah, no. So it's very livable, and that part's really great.
U.S. president with the best sense of humor.
And I thought about this one a lot because obviously Trump has a sense of humor, and obviously Obama had a wit and a sense of timing that was really good. But I think I'm going to go JFK because I think he really just was very clever, and he brought a sense of that to the Oval in a way that kind of reimagined what a president could be.
Interesting. I gotta bone up on my JFK history. I'm unaware of that side.
Yeah, he was clever. It was wit more than funny.
Like knee slapping stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I think that a lot of liberals and Democrats don't understand the comedy appeal of Trump. And I get why they don't, but they're missing out on one of the reasons for his popularity. And there is a side of him, like there was a thing he did where he accidentally called the Prime Minister of Canada the President of Canada or something. And Carney, the Prime Minister, said like you could hear it, but it wasn't meant to be heard. He's like, you just demoted me. And Trump said, oh, and it was very human. It was like, oh, did I? Oh, and he just hit him slightly on the go. At least I didn't call you a governor or something like that. Like there is a realness to his exchanges with people behind the scenes that I think a lot of Democrats and liberals don't understand or get, and to their detriment, I think.
No, that's an interesting observation. Yeah. All right, staying on the presidential theme, the actor to most convincingly play a president in film. I jotted down a couple ideas: Harrison Ford, Kevin Kline, Daniel Day-Lewis, or any write-in of your choice.
So I think the one that I would most rather be the president is Harrison Ford in Air Force One, 100%, or Morgan Freeman in, what was it, Armageddon or something like that, or one of those disasters.
Yeah.
But the one that is actually most like a president, because we don't get Harrison Ford. We don't. Like we can't have nice things. So we don't get Harrison Ford or somebody like in that style. So the one who's actually the most like it is a guy named it's like Merkin Muffley, who is played by Peter Sellers in Doctor Strangelove, who is just this lame milquetoast loser. And that's the most accurate portrayal of a president. But I would much rather have the Harrison Ford.
Yeah. All right, last question for Jake Tapper. One piece of advice for the audience.
Well, I imagine you have a lot of aspiring writers listening to this podcast. And so I would say this. I'm going to give two bits of advice if that's okay, since it's a writer's podcast. One, you can't call yourself a writer if you don't write every day. And I mean every day. I mean, not vacation, but like generally speaking, every day. And even if it's just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, write every day. So that's my advice about writing. The difference between somebody who has an unfinished novel, which is everybody in the world, and somebody who has written a novel and is seeking a publisher is whether or not they write every day. The second thing I'll say is I'm a big believer in structure. Some writers are gifted enough they can just sit down and all of a sudden they have written East of Eden. But generally speaking, knowing what happens in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, how it ends, is really important when it comes to just the craft of writing. So outlining the chapters, knowing the character development, and look, and on the journey, you'll make discoveries that you didn't know were coming. But structure is super important. And I think those are the two key bits of advice I'd say when it comes to writing.
Oh, that's great advice. On your first point, just a quick story here. Diana Gabaldon, who wrote the Outlander books that the show is based on, hugely successful writer. She's on the set. The show's being made. A bunch of the actors come over to her like, we love the books. How do you do it? What's the secret? Teach us. What's your advice for how we can go write a book? And she said, let's just start with this. For the next 10 days, write any amount of time, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you've got, but write every day. And then when 10 days are up, come back and let's talk again. No one ever came back. No one could write. So it sounds simple to say, like, go write every day, but it really is. You have to have the a certain amount of mettle to do even that.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I just did this. Dartmouth just reopened its Center for the Performing Arts, the Hopkins Center, and as part of that, I got to interview on stage two of our most illustrious creative alumnae, I should say, Mindy Kaling and Shonda Rhimes. And for both of them, the lesson is what? Hard work. That's what it is. It's sitting down and writing every day. That's what it is. It's all people want. Like, what's the secret? Oh, give me your agent. Give me your secret sauce. The secret sauce is hard work. And being as good as you can be and taking the constructive criticism and working. Like, I know it'd be great if it could be like, here, eat this carrot. You can write a book if you eat this carrot, but it's not. It's write every day. That's what it is. And that is the difference between people who get published and people who don't. I have right now in front of me on this table are like 40 books. And are they all great? No, but they've all been written and they've all been finished. And and that's the difference. I'm just talking about just like Army of the Night about Jean Moulin. I mean, that's the kind of book I'm talking about. But that's the secret sauce. Hard work.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Jake, this is awesome. Thank you. Great to see you. Go Birds.
Go Birds. And we have lots more stories to tell when all these other folks aren't listening.
All right. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Talk to you later.